welcome back to another Chicano podcast, guys, where we just keep it real here. Salvador Ramos shoots up an elementary in Uvalde, Texas. When I first heard of this, I was like, oh, another school shooting. I was like, we're still not over this. And then I heard his name and his last name. And I was like, wait one mother effing minute. And then I realized that is a Latino kid, a Hispanic, a Mexican. And it caught me off guard, guys. Because this stuff really doesn't happen, you know what I mean, coming from a Hispanic. So it really surprised me. And I was like, I want to know what's wrong with him. So this guy shoots up and kills 19 children, 2 adults at the elementary, right? From what I've heard and from what I've seen, there was cops that get there, right? Boom, boom, on the scene. And this guy is in there shooting at people. And there's videos that I'm seeing. And the cops are telling the people, the parents, oh, stand back. When their kids are there, getting shot, murdered. I was like, why are the cops doing this? Why aren't the cops going and shooting this guy? Why are they? Oh, stand back. Thankfully, there was an off-duty officer. I think he's in a special forces as far as the border patrol. I'm not too sure, which I want to get more information from him, and I hope I get some type of, or we get some type of story from him, because we need this as people. We need this as a form of recovery. So this guy goes in there, and there's another news report that I see that there was a little kid. I believe he or she was 8 years old. A little kid, it was 8-year-old kid, and he was in the class where this guy Salvador was shooting, right? And he was hiding under a table. And he says like that's one of the girls was calling the cops, and the shooter is yell help, and the shooter, the police guy is like, yell help if you need help. It's help. So the little girl yells out for help, and the little boy hears her, and Salvador Ramos, the killer, goes and tells her, oh, it's your turn to die. The little kid's saying that, right? I'm not. So the little boy hears the shots, and then he's saying that he hears the police, the guy going in there, come in and start shooting up the guy, start shooting up Salvador Ramos. Salvador Ramos then shoots back. And then the police officer, or the hero here, gets him, shoots him, kills him. And the little kid, hearing this, he says that he hears the gunshots, that it was hurting his ears, that he knew his friends, the little girl was gone, He knew that was the cop, and so he opens the they were at, in the he was under a table, and there was a un mantel, or you know what I mean. So he goes under, and he's saved. Now, the cop that got Salvador Ramos had an AR also, right? And Salvador Ramos killed everybody with an AR. It is to be said that Salvador bought those guns a few days right after his birthday or on his birthday. And then he buys over, I think it's 375 rounds for those guns. So, one of my issues here is why was that cop the only one in there? Why weren't the cops that were holding down the parents were from taking action, right? Why weren't the cops taking action just like this man? People are saying that the cops weren't going in there because of the guy had an AR. Salvador had an AR. And the cops didn't have that type of weaponry, right? So, what's the point of having a cop if he's not gonna go in there? Because being a cop, guys, it's probably one of the hardest jobs out there, if not the hardest, because you have to have, tienes que tener los huevos bien puestos, guys. If you don't have them, I don't think that job is for you. Right there, you're basically signing your life in a dotted line, and that's your job, is to serve and protect. Now, if the cops were there, like, oh, telling the parents, like, hey guys, y'all need to stay back, like, mm-mm. Especially when it's kids like this, I think the cops messed up right there. Yo entiendo que pues we don't want to lose our lives as humans, but but as a father myself, and I'm sure every parent there that was trying to go and help their kids from this shooter would have given their lives for any of those kids, myself included. Cops, if their kids, let's say you have a pistol, um, a handgun, and your kids are in there, I bet anything that if your kids would have been in there, there wasn't gonna be 1 second you wouldn't have thought about it. As a cop, any cop would have just gone in there and confronted that Salvador Ramos guy. That's that's so stupid of the cops to do. I'm sure they're gonna come up with their excuse or their reasoning why. So, but that's a huge problem right there. Now, when stuff like this happens, we tend to look at our community leaders, our governors, our, you know what I mean, the people that we look up to, our mayors, all that type of situation, our politicians. Here in Texas, you could basically buy a weapon before you can drink here. So you could be 18 and buy a weapon before you can have a beer because you have to be 21. I have a little issue with that. How is that possible? People are going to say, well, because of the military and all other stuff. Okay. But if you're not in the military, because being in the military is a special situation, right? And even then, a lot of those military guys have a hard time managing life after that. But why is it possible to get an AR at the age of 18 legally? What's the point in this? Should we change things? How can we change things? Now, let's remove ourselves from that. I found it very hard to listen to Ted Cruz, to listen to what's his name? The guy in the wheelchair talk to the media and for them to say, "Oh man, these killers and um it's just a very sad situation. My thoughts and prayers go out to those families and children and in my mind, I saw the videos and it really pissed me off or it bothered me because I'm like, if you're a leader, you're supposed to lead us to a better situation. If there's a problem in our community, you're supposed to fix this. You're supposed to start thinking, how can we fix this? And so I'm like, well, what are these leaders thinking? So they're talking to the media. So one of them tells the media, oh, mental illness. Um, nowhere. He comes up with like 30 reasons. He's like, oh. So the media's like, hey, so what do you think would happen? And then so he's like, ah, oh, I'm so tired. My prayers go out to this and that, to the people. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And then he's like, and I believe if those doors would have been locked in that elementary, and the back doors wouldn't have been open, all this would have been prevented. Not once did Ted Cruz or so Governor Abbott, right, says, oh man, it could have been a lot worse. Ted Cruz is like, oh, it's the door. If the door would have been closed, none of this would have happened. And not one of them, guys, not one of them blame the situation with weaponry. Now, hear me out. Texas, it loves their weapons. United States loves their weapons. I like weapons too. Now, do I believe what Ted Cruz said that because the door was closed, if it would have been closed, this wouldn't have happened? No, not for 1 second do I think. I think that person had ill intention. Salvador had this in mind already. He was gonna fuck up. He was gonna mess up anybody and kill anybody that was gonna be there, whether the door was closed or not. Now, Salvador, let's say, is 18, is plotting the same thing, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go to this school, right? And I'm gonna shoot up people. But where do I find this gun at? Oh, okay, well, I could just legally buy it. Well, then I'm gonna go with that gun. Now, I wonder why he chose that type of gun. Well, an AR-15 and not a pistol. Well, guys, do you and I believe if he would have had a handgun, There was no way he would have been able to get 19 children and two teachers and his grandma. Okay? But why, Ruben? Why? If he's gonna kill, he's gonna kill. Yes, guys. But an AR-15, I believe, right? I'm not a gun expert. Can hold a 30 mag, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. There's other weapons that could hold bigger mags, but for the most part, an AR-15 holds can hold about 30 rounds of ammunition. I just looked it up. I'm not an expert. I'm not a gun expert. I think people that use guns or buy guns, especially these type of guns, are kind of cowards because they need this type of weaponry to protect their home. Now, that's just my opinion. Now, let's look at the situation here. This Ramos kid picked up an AR legally, an AR-15 legally, and the reason why he chose that gun, and I'm pretty sure that's why he chose it, is because he could kill more people with that gun, right? So let's just say, okay, oh man, I'm 18, I'm Ramos, Salvador Ramos, and there's this type of law where he can't carry that type of weapon, okay? But he can get a pistol. So he's like, I'm gonna go and shoot everybody up. I'm gonna kill. I don't care. Okay. Do you guys think with a pistol or a handgun, which is normally used to protect yourself, do you think he could go up to 19 children, two teachers, and I believe his grandma too, with one handgun? Do you think he'd be able to do that type of damage? I honestly don't think he would be able to. Now, people are like, "Oh, how do we fix this? Mental illness and blaming the door should have been closed or Ted Cruz thinking that the door was the problem, the solution for this situation. This guy was gonna kill people no matter what. Now, if we have some type of regulation and 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 prohibit people from buying AR-15s or big uh, war type of guns, then let's say the mental illness, he'll be able to kill this stuff, right? But he'll be able to kill people, right? But I don't think it'll be enough ammunition because even then, a pistol does not carry 30 rounds. So, how can we figure this out, guys? If you guys think because the door was not closed, if the door would have been closed, he was not going to do this, you are totally not getting the situation, guys. What I'm embarrassed about is that I live here in Texas. This is my governor. These are my represent my representatives. They represent me, my community, and they they're about to have an NRA meeting today or tomorrow, and all they can say is, "Let's go NRA," and let's have some prayers and thoughts for all the families. When we've been having prayers and thoughts from El Paso to Denver to all these shootings that have been happening all over the schools all over the U.S. And the only one thing that's concurrent with everything is AR-15s. those types of weapons. How can we change this? Well, as far as Texas goes, we can remove and vote for different governors, representatives. I'm ashamed to be a Texan, and I'm embarrassed to be a Texan, and I'm gonna vote, and I'm not gonna vote for these guys. And we need change, because if these guys are silly enough to say, "Oh, it was the back door," okay? If the door would have been closed, none of this would have happened. Then I don't want them representing me, because that's a very low IQ. I need someone smart. I need somebody that sees things. And I know why they act this way. People say, "Oh, Governor Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz are some of the smartest men and all these credentials that they have." Okay, well, if they were that smart, they know what the problem is. They know what the solution is too. So I think we think differently. I'm pretty sure they know, right? The solution. But I also know is that, right? This is just rumors, and by the looks of it, I think that's the only probable reason why they act so blind to these type of situations is because of the NRA. It's reported, right? Rumors that all these governors and representatives all over the US are bribed by the NRA. They get donate their the NRA donates money to them and yearly incentives or whatever the situation is, right? Now, why does that happen? Why do I think they're acting blind to the situation? Is because of the money. That big money. And us as the people are dumb enough to keep giving them money. Because once something like this happens, we go buy guns. Well, guess who keeps that money? The NRA. People that sell guns, not just, you know what I mean? But that money goes to who? Well, the NRA is smart. They don't care about me and you killing each other. They care about that money and feeding their families. So the NRA goes to our governments, all right, our officials, our representatives, and tell Abbott and Ted Cruz here in Texas, "Hey, behave, behave, Big Daddy. Okay, we need you to make it easier for everybody to buy our merchandise. So we're gonna give you a certain percentage for sales, but we're gonna say it's a donation, right?" So guess what these guys do? "Oh, you're giving me." It's said, right? There's hundreds and thousands. I'm not gonna say exact numbers because I'm not sure. It's just rumored, right? Hearsay, she said. But they make a good amount of money to be good puppies, to be good boys. So for you guys that have the power to vote people out, I want you guys to know and do your research. You know what I mean? I'm just giving you my opinion. Well, if you want this type of representatives here in Texas, then pick them. You know what I mean? But there goes your children. Do you think they care about them? Mm-mm. What do they care about? Me personally, I'm gonna vote them out. Enough is enough. I know this is a mafia. there's very few solutions that are gonna get passed through, and there's probably not gonna be no action about this. But I'm gonna start with me, and I'm gonna start voting other ways and looking for things that for representatives that really represent my my idea of a good government. It's heard that these guys, you know what I mean, the only possible way that they act so blind to this is because of the money. So the NRA gives them money, right? Oh, it's a donation and all this bullshit, all this bull nonsense. And so how do they make more money? How do they generate? Well, let's make it easier for our Texans. Yeehaw! Our Texans to get weapons. Oh, so I just got to remove this law that you can't buy a weapon. You don't need a license to carry. You don't have to show it. Okay, well, let's do this. So that's how they get more sales, guys. Money is the root of all evil. We're all just victims of this situation. Now, it's a shame that Salvador, a Hispanic, did this to our community, to a Hispanic community. There was a tweet that I saw from a Republican NRA person, right? And that person was saying that went right towards immigration and and all these Hispanics, these immigrants and illegal immigrants need to go back to their country and they're terrorists and all their stuff. And I laughed because the person that did this was an American, right? If I'm not mistaken, Hispanic American. But what I laughed about is how many silly people there is out there reading that tweet and saying, "Oh, snap. She's right." Because that tweet had over 32K likes and over 15,000 retweets. Imagine that. Imagine that. But it just goes to show you that there's so many people. I hate to call them dumb, but they're so dumb that they'll buy into whatever they see, especially without doing their research. But it's a shame. It's a shame that this keeps happening. This happened here in El Paso, racially motivated. There's a manifesto. We see it. This guy's still on trial. I don't know what's going on with this case. Our governor was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." You know what I mean? But it wasn't the guns. It was his mental illness. Now this case, it's not. It's never the guns. It's never the guns. And people are Republicans or people that are good for the Second Amendment. That are I agree with it. But guys, the Second Amendment meant other type of weaponry. Back in those days when that Second Amendment was written and passed, the type of weapon that there was compared to now is day and night. Back then it was maybe a little one-shot rifle, and that's what they meant. It's something to protect yourself with, not an AR-15 that's meant for war usage. America has the best military. If something were ever to happen to us and it went and they invaded us through and got through our military, our AR-15s are not gonna do nothing here. Our AR-15s are gonna lose to a bunch of airplanes. So I don't know. Disgrace. It's just a disgrace, guys. Where there's a there's another thing that I saw where it says something in, I don't know what country, that and don't quote me on this because I'm just talking, right? Um, that they had a tragedy happen on something like ours, right? A shooting, and so the laws to carry weapons like that are so strict in that country. And ever since that went through and passed, they've never had they haven't had one shooting after all. It's crazy that they kind of saw the weapon. It's crazy that they saw the problem. They saw that it was a gun, and they said, "Oh, we're not just gonna let anybody get them. So let's target the how to get the gun." So they made it nearly impossible for people to get the gun, and they haven't had that issue since. Now, any person with the right to love weapons, right? With the right heart, would be like, I'm willing to give up the AR-15 or any type of military useful weapon and just keep my pistol, my handguns, and a rifle, but I'm willing to give that up for these rifles or these I'm willing to give up these type of military useful rifles, but I'm gonna keep my handgun to protect my family because that's all I need. I think that's what we need. I'm okay with people having your weapons if you're mentally sane, if you're responsible. But for it to be that easy to buy a shit ton of rounds, over 375 rounds, buy two AR-15s within days, and the cops not know about it or check your background, that I don't have that I don't agree with. Chicano, I really don't agree with it. Chicano out.